everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Martha Soipan. Once again, I want to tell you thank you so much for your overwhelming support, your messages, your comments, your encouragement. I don't take them for granted. Continue subscribing, liking and share. Today we're in another episode of continuation of my life journey, and we'll continue to where we stopped. You that you're watching and you have not subscribed, kindly don't forget to hit that subscribe button, comment, like and also share to more other people. Now I stopped where I went to school, and I cleared my form 4, but due to whatever we were going through, financial difficulties, I could not continue with my studies. And so I started hustling like any other young girl or any other young boy in the society. I started working with promotions with different kind of agencies. And I can remember very well, it reached a point, I even worked 2 companies, one during daytime and the other one at night. And by that time, I remember at night we were working with BAT, we were promoting a cigarette called Pall Mall before the government came to ban the BAT advertisement. And why did I do all this? I know most of you will ask. And I used to work all this because I wanted to change our lifestyle. I wanted to see my dream coming true. I was chasing that dream that I used to dream when I was a girl. I could not think that I would continue living in the Eastlands. I wanted to live a good life, and I wanted to change also the life of my mother. As I continue working hard, I thank God, because where we used to live, my mom's hotel was somewhere hidden, but by the grace of God, through my hard work, I got her a better place where she could even make more money, and she could open very early and also close a little bit early for her to rest, which was also a beneficial to her and an advantage. And as she continued working, I remember she was very grateful, and I did all that. And as I was continue going to work and coming back, along the way, that is how I met the so-called Mr. Love, or my first right. And I will say today I was naive, because I fell in the arms of a man that told me he loves me. He pampered me. He escorted me to work. And every time I would leave work, I'll find him at the stage, waiting for me. We go home together. And for a girl who have always sought attention, when I found attention in this person, I thought it was true love. So I fell in his arm, and there was nothing you would have told me about this man, any negativity, and I would listen to it. So as time goes by, and as the time went by, I used now to live in his place and also live in my place. Don't forget that even when I worked hard and changed my mom's working place, it reached a point that the same house that my grandmother had given us, we were living together, my mother shifted and went on her own. So that house was left for me and another cousin of mine who came to live with me. So we used to share that one room, and every time my grandmother will come from the rural, she will come and stay with us. So I would go to this man's house and also come back here. But it reached a point I was in this man's house more often than our house. So it seemed like I was married, I was not married, yes. And as much as I stayed with this man, my life was miserable. Why am I talking about miserable? Because I was being beaten. I became a punching bag from the word go. And I thought being beaten and being told I love you, it is love. Why am I being beaten? 1, I've come from work and maybe someone, a client or my boss has called me. The fact remains it's a man, that's a beat. I come home, I don't have money, he'll take my money or he will take my phone. I went through a lot. And every time I could go back and try and talk to my mom and just tell her what is happening, she will say my son will not do this. My cousin tried all her best to sometimes go and get someone to rescue me, because sometimes she will call my phone and just finds out that I'm Teja, and the first thing she will think is to come and check for me in this man's house. And she could either find me in a bad state, all alone, because maybe the whole night was war. And it was not just slaps that one could say I was slapped and that was it. This man would undress me and beat me and do stuff that even sharing on air, it's a shame. At my tender age, I went through a lot. If today, the knowledge or the wisdom that I have today, I had that time, I don't think I'll be here talking about this. Because most of us are suffering in the arms of men, just because maybe you told he or she loves you, or maybe you're there because you think whatever that man is giving you is love. It is not love. And so I went on being beaten. Anytime I would come from work late, it's a war. He will not even let me explain myself. Until even if he didn't beat me, I would ask, why am I not beaten today? Because my body had adjusted with the life of being beaten now and then. And it was not being beaten in the house. It's not once or twice I've been beaten publicly. And when I mean publicly, I don't only mean publicly in front of people that don't know me, but in front of that person that gave birth to me, and that is my mother. And I went so much that every time when I think about it, I weep. I kept on asking myself, why could she defend me? Why? Why could she just stand and say that you won't hit my daughter again? It went on over a year. And I remember in the year 2007, beginning of the year, that was then this man beat me to an extent of taking an iron box and pressing it on my back while it was hot. It was something that after today I would really not wish even my worst enemy to go through it. And by the time I got myself to the hospital, my cousin had called my mom, but she never turned up. And so my cousin thought of calling my aunties, which today I thank them, because they came, they found me where I used to live, and when they looked at my status, they couldn't believe. I could not open my eyes. I was in a bad state. And little did I know, I was already expectant. And so when I recovered, I decided to live on my own. And so the little money I had to go and look for a small room. By the time I was renting that apartment, it was 400. It went up to 600. And we will pay toilet, we'll pay bathroom, we'll buy water. And I had to do what I had to do to make ends meet, because of these beatings and missing work and all that, I came to lose my jobs. And so I started cleaning people's clothes, buying old newspapers and selling. And until when I was about to deliver. But even before, even during that time when I was living on my own with my pregnancy, this man would always wait for me on the road and beat me unaware. Maybe it's at night. he will just trace me where I am or which path I'm going to use going home, and he'll attack me and beat me. And I remember when I was due to give birth, and before I gave birth, I remember there's a time I went to help myself. I've not said this in the other channels, but I went to help myself and I found some blood spots. And I thought of rushing to Pumwani. And when I got to Pumwani, I remember the midwife telling me, allow us to take out the baby and put the baby in the incubator. But I thought they were lying. So for me, I said I was not going to allow it. And I remember I spent 2 nights in Pumwani. And then I went back home. So I waited for my day to deliver. And because of, I thought if I went back to Pumwani, the same thing will happen. So I went to a private hospital where after today I regret, because Pumwani had seen something that this private hospital did not see. Because I found myself in labor for days. And after delivering my baby, she could not survive. My baby died in my arms. After a labor for so long, pains, and a journey of pains of 9 months. A journey that every woman will enjoy, carrying a pregnancy for 9 months. For me, it was hell. Because I had to do what I had to do. At the same time, I went through a lot of beatings, Cold War. I was never comfortable, even sometimes, to walk on the streets alone. And when I lost my baby, I lost meaning of life. I asked God so many questions, because I thought my baby was my only hope to survive in this world. But now she was gone. I don't have a husband. I don't have a baby. I don't have a job. Yet I carried her for 9 months. And so when I went home, I didn't go to my house. I went back and my mom took me in. And when she took me in, we stayed with her. And after some times, the post-election violence started. And so where we used to live, Kariobangi, all of you can remember, was one of those estates that the fight was very bad, the violence. And so we shifted to Kariobangi and went to Dandora. And by the time we were going to Dandora, my mom had lost her hotel and she had started becoming sick. So we went to Dandora and we started life again from the scratch. And I had to do what I had to do to put food on the table and to make ends meet. Not forgetting, I have my mom, we have bills to pay at the end of the month, and also her medication. But today I want to take this opportunity to thank God, because as much as when I lost my daughter, when I felt everything was lost, God gave me hope. Because I worked and I could put food on the table, though it was not easy. And so we continue like that until I decided I want to start going to church. I was not a church girl. And I joined a certain church in town where I used to go. I could not even miss any kesha. And as much as I used to go, the founders or the ministers of the church spotted me and thought, we need to know who is this girl that doesn't miss church. She's always very early. In Kesha, she's one of the first people to get into church. And I was given an opportunity to stand at the pulpit and introduce myself. And during the introduction, one of the junior pastors, that today I will not call him a junior pastor, today I'll call him a very senior pastor in this country of Kenya and also abroad, who is still, or people still call him a minister of God, heard where I come from or where I was living, and later after Mass, we got acquainted because he approached me. We exchanged numbers because he was just my neighbor. And so along the way, as I was just doing my casual job, so one day he told me, since we fellowship together, we go home together, we come to church together, kindly get me your CV so that I can get you a better job. And for me, I felt good because I knew I was in the house of God. I had the better shoulders to lean on because of what I had gone through in my past. And I knew that I was getting to the best arms, because every time we ran to church because you seek a shoulder to lean on. You seek genuine people. You seek genuine hearts. And that was in the back of my mind. I knew I was in the right place. I was with the right people. I had found a genuine shoulder, genuine hearts, and genuine hands to embrace me. And so, as I continued to go into the church and waiting for this pastor to get me a job, so later on, after some few months, he told me, I've gotten a job for you, Martha, and the person who's going to give you a job is in my place, and I would want you to come and get to know this guy so that you can know how you're going to start your job. And for me, I was happy because I knew I was going to get a good job, much better than these casual jobs I was doing. So I had already even started planning. It's like when someone tells you that now you've gotten a job and you'll be getting 100,000 at the end of the month, you start planning already, even when the money is not, because you are excited. And that is what happened to me, and I went very excited, and along the way, I remember I would just go and telling God, thank you. Indeed, you're a good God. You've given me a job. I'll not suffer. I'll be able to cater for my mom, and because my mom is recovering, I'll be able even to open her another business here in Dandora. And when I got to his house, I knocked and I got in. And when I say I'll talk about self-defense here, because when someone wants to attack you or someone wants to harm you, they first groom you. And every time they want to attack you, they always attack you unaware. You're always unaware. So by the time you gain the strength to defend yourself, it is late. Whatever that person wants to do, he or she has already done it. What am I talking about? I got to his house and he already knew what he wanted to do. And by the time I started defending myself, it was too late. That person that I trusted, that person that I knew I was in the safe hands, he took advantage of my innocence and took away my dignity. A lot of people will ask, why is someone single? Where is the father of your kid? And most of you think being single is by choice. It is not by choice. It is not. Some of us are single because of the circumstances that some of us are not even able to talk about. You were defiled by somebody. You didn't expect him to do so, but he did it. Because that person first grooms you, and he makes sure that he has gained your trust. Only God knows what I went through that day. And after he did that, all it was pack and go. I asked myself, where do I go? Who do I turn to? Who do I tell that a minister of God has defiled me? Who will believe me? I have no money to defend myself even if I go to court. I cannot tell my mom because she's still recovering. And so I stood and I just decided to stay. But I didn't know that through the defilement, I got pregnant. And I remember the very first day, after being sick for a while, I went to the hospital and I was told I was expectant. My mind told me, unless maybe you tell this person, he'll feel remorseful and you'll bring up the baby. But that was not the case. I took my phone, I called him and I told him I needed to see you. And by the time I got to his house, I showed him the letter and I told him, after what you did for me, these are the results. But I was shocked. He asked for my number. And he sent 1,000 bob on my phone number. And he told me, go get rid of that thing. I asked him why. And how do you know that getting rid of a pregnancy cost 1,000? Am I not the first girl? He told me, I'm building my career. I'm building my brand. And I will not let you or whatever you're carrying destroy what I am building. After all, you're not my class. Neither are you of my level. I felt bad. My self-esteem went down. And I could remember what my ex-husband will tell me every time he will beat me. That you're ugly. And even if you leave me, no man will ever look at you. I felt betrayed. I hated myself. I could not see anything good out of me. I hated what I carried. It reached a point I hated even God. I asked God, why would you allow me to go through this? Yet I was serving you in your church. I felt very dirty. And I asked myself so many questions. If a minister of God will tell me that or will see me like that, what about other men outside here? Who will I turn to? I wished for death, but it never came. I prayed for death, but the prayers were never answered. And I had no choice but to continue hustling until my pregnancy was to term. But something funny happened the day I went to deliver my baby. Thinking I was going to deliver my baby normally like any other woman. The midwives discovered and the doctors that I had complications. And there was no other way than going for an operation. And I remember very well, that was when I felt a connection with my baby. And for the first time, I called some of my relatives who had not even seen me for 9 months because I hid that pregnancy. And I will tell them, Auntie, I'm going to the theater. And I will ask, are you sick? And I'll tell them, no, I had come to deliver my baby. And I've been told that I need to go for an operation. Please pray for me. I remember I even called my grandmother who was in the Rulon and she never knew I was pregnant. I hid myself from my relatives and from the people I knew or knew me for 9 good months. Most of them actually saw me with a baby and they could not believe it's my baby. I thank God because the operation was successful and both me and my child survived. I thank God because I did not take away the life of that baby like the father wanted. And today, if I look at my son, I glorify God for who he is. He brings so much joy. He has taught me to be the mom that I am, the mother that I am today. And every time I walk, I feel proud because I did not do whatever that person wanted me to do. And people will ask, or people will ask even other women, why can't you just get married? Not all men are the same. But I'll just ask you a question. You that you're asking yourself that question, put yourself in my shoes and tell me, after those 2 circumstances, before even hearing the third one, which other person will come and convince you that he or she is not like the past that you had? Sometimes you don't even trust your own self. And even after I delivered my baby, though my baby also had complication and I had to stay in the hospital for a while because my baby went to the nursery and after some days he developed George's. It was another journey full of pain, tears, misery. Walking with teachers from the ward to the nursery after every 1-2 hours. And every time you see your child helpless there, you just feel, God, why am I passing all through this? Why am I facing all this pain? Who do you want me to lean on? I don't have a sister to cry on. I don't have a father to cry on. I don't have a brother to cry on. Yes, my mother was there. But I also needed someone else to hold my hand. After some time, we were discharged and we went home. And I started bringing up my child. But I remember I said a prayer to God and I told God, bless me in a way that my son will never ask of his father. Make sure my son will never lack anything. He will never ask for bread and I'll give him stones. He will never ask for fish and I'll give him a snake. And my viewers, I want to tell you this. Our God is so faithful because God was faithful to me. Despite whatever I went through, and I hated churches and I never went to churches, God stood with me. God never abandoned me. And by that time we were living with my mom. And I remember very well, it was even my mom who took my son for baptism because me, I never went to church. I hated churches because I wondered if I had gone, if it's because I had gone to the church, that is why this happened to me, then where else is safe? And I've brought up my son till today. When I look at him, I see a lot of courage in him. When I look at my son, I'm proud of the mother that I am today. Because every time I feel low, God gave me a courageous boy. I never feel lonely anytime I'm with him. To me, he was a blessing in disguise. And so we stayed with my mother, and God blessed me with jobs, and then even in the hotel industry. And I worked, and our life changed. From single rooms double room to a self-contained room. We started with a 1-bedroom. We went to a 2-bedroom. I reached a point I could afford to take my son out with my mom. And when my son was about 1 year, remember, I opened a business for my mom and it was doing well. They could go with my son at the business as I go to town to work. And we went on like that and like that until my son was 3 years. And when my son joined school, I decided to live on my own. I wanted, as much as I used to live with my mom, I wanted to live with my son and experience the feeling of a mother and child alone without a third person in their life. And it was the best. Up to today, it is still the best. And I will say this, and I will say it again and again. Parents, it doesn't matter how much money you have, how much wealth you have, but if you don't give your kids time, I don't think I can call you a parent, because kids need time. And down the line, since I started living with my son alone, I would say it's 9 years now. And our communication, our love was still intact with still the grandmother. We will visit and come, she visits us. She has always done that. But in the year 2020, the unthinkable revealed itself. The unthinkable I came to know. The unthinkable made me ask myself this question. And I will leave you with this. Tell me, what does it entail to be called a mother? What does it entail to be called a mother? What does it entail to be called a mother? God bless you. Shalom.